Good morning. Welcome to the Bucks County Commissioners meeting, March 2nd, 2022. We are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to ask people to remain standing following the Pledge of Allegiance so we can have a moment of silence for the people of Ukraine. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will have a little bit more to say toward the end, the Commissioner comments with regard to what's happening in Ukraine and some information that we can share with people here in the county regarding ways they can help if they're interested. We do have many guests here today, and we will kind of start with the one who seems sort of the most anxious to get moving. We have a new member of the Corrections Department, Berger, and I don't know if our Department of Corrections, Director of Corrections, Mr. Kratz wants to speak, or somebody else wants to speak. You can give us a little introduction to our newest employee.
Thanks, Commissioners. Just want to introduce Canine Berger, who came to us from Connecticut. He will be our newest member. He's going to be trained as a drug dog. So he'll be going to school in 2 weeks, or I'm sorry, next week for an 8-week class. Notice he's a little bit small. He came to us sort of as a return. He was tasked to a police department, but he didn't grow as large as he should have. So he went back to his foster kennel where we were able to purchase him at a pretty good price, and you can see he's excited. Lieutenant Mark Clayton's going to be his handler. This is all very new to us. We're very excited to have this. This is a great tool for us to really curb the way that drugs are coming into the institutions. It's a very complicated thing these days, and this is going to be an excellent tool to help us. And I'd like to thank District Attorney and Dale Ketty, one of the county detectives, really got us started on this journey and have been very supportive in helping us. And Matt has promised maybe some money to help us out with the care and maintenance of the dog, so which we greatly appreciate. So everybody, Canine Berger, and again, thank you everybody for the support. This is a big thing and a great thing for Bucks County. Sure.
No, happy to have him, and thank you for doing this. Thank you, Lieutenant, for your willingness to take on a partner. And it looks like you're a good team so far. He's It's actually that's a good oblique workout what you're doing right there. That's it with him. So that, but appreciate you being here. You don't. I'm sure he wants to go. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. Thank you. We have multiple proclamations to present today. The commissioners. The first is celebrating the 110th birthday of the Girl Scouts here in the United States, and I will turn to Commissioner DiGirolamo.
Thank you. Congratulations. I have a proclamation from the county and the commissioners I'd like to read. Whereas, since its beginning, the Girl Scouts of the USA has emphasized public service and civic engagement and has fostered a sense of community in girls. Whereas the Girl Scout troops work to champion the ambitions, cultivate the talents, and develop the skills of girls to confidently pursue their passions and make the world a better place to live. During the adolescent time when girls are experiencing increased levels of anxiety, stress, loneliness, and depression, Girl Scouts provide community, consistency, and connection for girls and is a safe haven in all the uncertainty. Girl Scouts engages girls of all grade levels in civic programming that deepens their understanding of democracy and government, prepares them for a lifetime of civic engagement, and motivates them to take actions on issues that are important to them. The Girl Scouts offer girls 21st century programming in science, technology, engineering, and math the outdoors, entrepreneurship, and beyond, helping girls develop invaluable life skills. Gold Award Girl Scouts in Bucks County last year completed various projects to improve our local communities, including providing welcome boxes to kids in foster care, promoting reading to children with learning challenges, creating a hammock garden in Tohickon Valley Park, making bat boxes out of reclaimed woods for the borough of Yardley, and focusing on the impact of the opiate epidemic on new moms and their babies. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Bucks County Commissioners, Chair Robert Harvey, Vice Chair Diane Ellis Marseglia, and Jean DiGirolamo hereby recognize the 110th anniversary of Girl Scouts of the United States of America, the largest and most impactful leadership program for girls in the United States. In so doing, we encourage all citizens in Bucks County to celebrate the problem solvers, go-getters, dreamers, and doers who are creating a better future for us all. We can't wait to see what they do next. Congratulations to the Girl Scouts on their 110th anniversary, and I know we have some members that are here today. If any of them would like to say something, ask them to come up to the podium.
I think we have, is it Ella Powell is coming up to speak. She's here with Carla Hickey.
Thank you for celebrating with us. Next slide, please. 110 years ago, on March 12, 1912, Julia Gordon Low decided to do something for the girls of Savannah and all America and founded Girl Scouts of the USA. The first troop was made up of 18 girls who all shared a sense of curiosity and belief that they could do anything. This was before women had rights to vote. From the beginning, Girl Scouts were about including all girls and encouraging them to do new things. Next slide, please. These are all pictures of our history from the first 25 years. For example, we worked with former President Teddy Roosevelt to raise money during World War I. And during the Great Depression, we held food drives to help families in need. You can see that from the very beginning, we were all about community service. The other photo shows that the first Girl Scout cookie sale, featuring commercially processed cookies, was started right here in our council. Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania. The cookie program continues today to teach girls goal setting, decision making, money management, people skills, and business ethics. Next slide, please. Since I showed you a picture of Girl Scouts in World War I, I also wanted to share this one of us with another President, Roosevelt, in World War II. We did all sorts of community service projects to help the war effort. They are showing him a list of their projects. The picture right underneath is also very special because it is a Girl Scout troop made up of Japanese American girls whose families were interned during the war. So even in special challenging circumstances, Girl Scouts band together to continue learning during services and growing leaders. The picture on the right shows 4 Girl Scout brownies looking at a computer card equipment in an office in 1956. Even though computers were pretty commonplace now, Girl Scouts were interested in them from the start. Next slide, please. Speaking of computers, there's another picture from the 1980s. That computer looks pretty weird to me, but girls have always been interested in science and technology. In fact, the photo on the top left is a group of older girls who were specifically invited by NASA to the launch of an Apollo spacecraft. One thing that makes Girl Scouts different from other groups is that we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. The picture on the bottom shows girls who were interested in the environment and wanted to do something to protect our natural resources back in the 1970s. Next slide, please. This brings us to the 21st century. These are all pictures of girls in our local Girl Scout Council and shows just some of the fun activities we get to do, from high ropes and archery to public speaking and robotics. Girls like me want to try everything. Next slide, please. And there are new badges coming out all the time that allow us to learn more about current issues and challenges. Next slide, please. By the way, Girl Scouts doesn't just impact the lives of girls. Girls grow up to be women, which is very obvious, at least to me, that women who were Girl Scouts as kids are leaders today in every way of our country. Next slide, please. How does this happen? Because the mission of Girl Scouting is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. Remember I told you we walk the walk? Girl Scouts don't just believe that we have confidence, we go out into the world and connect with other people to take action to improve the world for everyone. Next slide, please. One way girls do that is by earning our highest awards, the Bronze, Silver, and Gold Awards. I've already earned my Bronze Award, and I will earn my Silver and Gold Award. Because when girls take action, they change the world. Next slide, please. It's been a tough couple years for all of us. Though, through the 110 years of Girl Scouting, we have persevered through many challenges, and Girl Scouts had helped girls endure through these difficult times by troop leaders serving as role models, offering us community service projects, opportunities to help others, and giving us unique adventures to develop new skills while in safe spaces to learn more about ourselves. Next slide, please. Thank you again for celebrating our 110th birthday with us. Just watch out, world, because we are ready for the next 110 years.
Very good, thank you. And before I ask Ella and Carla to come up here to accept the proclamation, just I should have thought to ask this question just myself beforehand, but show of hands of the women in the room, how many were Girl Scouts? Okay, that's a pretty good indicator that your speech was right on the money. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, we'd love to have you come up. The proclamation here. Just take a few pictures.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't help but notice on one of the slides where it said that 73%, or 3 out of 4 of the women who are in the United States Senate belong to the Girl Scouts of America.
Yeah.
A pretty telling statistic.
Yeah,
It really is.
I thought so too. Yeah. So
Congratulations again.
okay, next we are going to recognize the 2022 St. Patrick's Day Parade Grand Marshal, Mr. Bill Ryan. Commissioner Marseglia?
Thank you, and it's an honor to do this. I will add that Grand Marshal Bill Ryan was the president of Pennsbury's class of '77, the year before mine. And I tell people all the time, he brought the then congressman, which was Peter Kosmeier back then, to our school. And it really affected me and made me even more interested in government and politics. So blame Bill. Whereas the Bucks County St. Patrick Day Committee was founded in 1988 to honor the patron saint of Ireland and provide an Irish parade for the County of Bucks. And whereas in 2022, the parade is celebrating its 33rd year on Saturday, March 12th, with another gala event including award-winning bands, dance groups, pipe bands, floats, and marchers from across the region. And whereas each year the parade is led by a Grand Marshal so honored for continuous contributions to the culture and general welfare of the Irish heritage and for service to the esteemed Parade Committee. And whereas this year the Parade Committee is honored to salute Bill Ryan, Vice President of Government Relations and Public Affairs at the Einstein Healthcare Network in Philadelphia, as 2022 Parade Grand Marshal. And whereas Mr. Ryan was recently recognized by the Pennsylvania Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs for his recent efforts at a North Philadelphia hospital, which saw the second highest number of COVID-19 patients in the nation. And where Mr. Ryan has been the driving force behind creating the North Philadelphia Health Enterprise Zone, a partnership between the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and Department of Education and the City of Philadelphia and area hospitals and other stakeholders to address health disparities. And whereas Mr. Ryan's staunch support of the Parade Committee and unwavering devotion to help those in need have made him an ideal candidate for Grand Marshal. So now, therefore, do we, the Bucks County Commissioners, hereby proclaim March 12th, 2022 as Bucks County's 33rd annual St. Patrick's Day Parade celebration throughout the County of Bucks. And in so doing, we encourage all Bucks Countyans to join the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for the annual parade at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, March 12th, as it steps off from Conwell Egan Catholic High School.
Mr. Ryan, come forward, please.
So, good morning. Thank you. Did not have any prepared remarks, but I did notice that you had me after the dog and the Girl Scouts. Thanks for the scheduling. But I am honored for your recognition, but I'm more honored by the fact that the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee has been one that has focused on community. And at a time like today, like now, after what we've been through as a nation over the last few years, what we're going through across the globe, community is more important than anything. So we're looking forward to having everyone join us on March the 12th and celebrate community, celebrate diversity, and celebrate what it makes this country what it is. So thank you for your recognition. Thank you for your support. And Commissioner Marshal, you got to stop blaming me for getting you involved in this stuff. I'm just saying.
Got to blame someone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love to have you come up. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, and finally, we are recognizing Consumer Protection Week. When I ran for this office, it was one of the things that when people didn't know much about what the county did, and I usually highlighted the Consumer Protection Department, which is one of our smallest, quite frankly, but has an enormous impact. You think about every gas pump you go to in Bucks County is inspected by Consumer Protection. Every time you go to a deli, supermarket, you get lunch meat or cheese, it's inspected. That scale that weighs that meat or cheese or whatever you're buying, fruit, produce, whatever, is all inspected by our Consumer Protection to make sure that if you're getting a pound of bananas, you're really paying for a pound of bananas and not paying for less because the scale's off. So, and there's a whole range of other things that that the office does, but those are usually the things that people never think about. So, whereas the efforts of the federal government and social activists to protect American consumers from dangerous products and unscrupulous manufacturers stretches back to the beginning of the 20th century. And whereas in 1914, under President Woodrow Wilson, the Federal Trade Commission was established in an effort to protect consumers and, in turn, help the United States economy run smoothly, safely, and fairly for businesses, consumers, and investors. And whereas consumer protection consists of laws and organizations designed to ensure the rights of consumers, as well as fair trade competition and the free flow of truthful information in the marketplace. And whereas, in keeping with the laws established, the Bucks County Consumer Protection Department exists to protect the rights of consumers by providing valuable information about the laws that govern how businesses conduct themselves, and whereas advocating for consumer rights and guiding them to solutions to difficult situations is the specialty of the county's Consumer Protection Department. Now, therefore, do we, the Bucks County Board of Commissioners, hereby proclaim March 6th through March 12th as Consumer Protection Week throughout the County of Bucks. In doing so, we commend the Office of Consumer Protection and consumer advocates everywhere for their fine work in maintaining a fair and honest marketplace for all. I do see Mike Bannon, who's here, is the head of our Consumer Protection Weights and Measures Department. He's coming. Oh, he's bringing his staff with him, which is great.
Thank you. Yep, I have a few visitors with me.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Microphone. I know you usually don't need a microphone, but there is a microphone back there.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Commissioners for continued support of the Consumer Protection Department. My new division, or not so new division leader, Joe Kahn, for supporting us for the past couple of years as we've been dealing with this new environment that we're in. And I also want to thank the terrific staff that I get to work with here every day to deal with consumer problems for residents. You know, the Consumer Protection Department really does exist to protect residents when they do any kind of retail purchase or any kind of commodity purchase. I am really proud to say, by leaps and bounds, we have great business people in Bucks County. By far, most business people are honorable and do the right thing in the situation, and that's what we want to see. Unfortunately, every once in a while, people pop up, and we have to either educate them on consumer protection laws to get the business into compliance, but if they don't care, then there's some other resources I'd like to thank, like Matt Weintraub, who would look at some consumer issues or consumer protection issue laws that have been violated. Matt has been great with that and a good partner. Thank you very much for that, Matt. So overall, I'm very pleased to work with a great team and get the support from the county, and we look forward to another year.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that is, for those people out there, I mean, you know, we always hear about unscrupulous contractors, especially you hear about that. You know, this is the office you'd call if you thought there was something not quite right. This was an office that was very active in the beginning months of the pandemic, as you started seeing suspicious price hikes for things like masks in certain stores. It was this department that would go out and investigate and make sure that there was not price gouging happening. So that's the kind of thing that they've been very active with. And you know, again, thank them and the whole staff and Mike especially for his work. So thank you. Thank you. And I guess it's sort of a good segue talking about consumer protection. Just yesterday, the commissioners, in conjunction with DA Weintraub, announced a lawsuit against manufacturers of different products, or specifically firefighting foam that contain PFAS. And it is the consumer protection angle that the DA is able to file action on to protect, you know, certainly the county as the consumer buying material many years ago and using it, thinking it was safe when in fact the manufacturers knew it wasn't. And so that's the kind of thing that you know, again, consumer protection is there to protect us, and there are different angles and different avenues we can take, and this is sort of a good segue between those two things. So, okay, we are moving to public comment on agenda items. See, Andy Warren, there's a couple.
Mr.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for your moment of silence for Ukraine. Certainly, if there's anywhere in the world there needs a moment by many, many people, it's that. I applaud your leadership on that issue. I have just two questions. Item 3A, and while certainly applaud the focus of the $73,000, how does that differ from the diversity officer or the diversity program that we already have and have had in Bucks County forever, that we need $73,000 now to have our employees know what to do? And number 10, the workforce innovation opportunity. I'm certainly delighted that Bucks County is receiving funding. I'll never quibble with that, but I would question the source. How is that from the federal government, and how long is that program in? This is a substantial, it's almost $1 million this time, and we get them periodically. What's the source of this? How long does this money last? And those are the two for now.
Is that, I'm sorry, for your last question, is that, you have 10A? which
Well,
is about grants.
10, it's C.
10C,
D,
okay.
C, D, E, a number of them.
Okay, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sure. You know the name, I'm not going to be, I can see Ed, I can't really understand the last name, sorry. Can't read the writing, I apologize.
Commissioners, honored guests, my name is Ed Mackhouse from Furlong, PA. I'd like to speak about the 3A item, approved contract to design and facilitate a countywide diversity and inclusion program. Well, diversity and inclusion sounds good. I believe in diversity and including everyone you can. I think unity is important, that America united can stand. I believe that it's in the interest of our enemies, those who want to destroy America, to divide America. I think bipartisanship, Republicans and Democrats should work together. We should all be inclusive as much as we can, and most responsible people can find ways to get along, like Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people. We have to look for what is good. Unfortunately, diversity and inclusion program reminds me of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is connected with the critical race theory. So President Biden gave a speech last night, now the election's coming up, he's trying to unite people, speak about funding the police and things, but I think in America there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. I think that diversity, equity, and inclusion, critical race theory, is imposing a Marxist-type socialist church state. And so I think it's important not to do this, not to approve this diversity, equity, and inclusion. The thing, and the racism things, like, I've got complaints. A parent complained that his 8-year-old daughter came home and called him a racist because he's white. It's a job of teachers to teach that racism is prejudice. It's having a preconceived ideas about people. I wore a Trump hat to the Black Lives Matter thing, and they denounced Trump, denounced things, but no one threatened me. I think it's important that we have discussions. Black Lives Matter to Trump, they matter to the police. They save lives. The progressive program has 500 people killed, the highest record rate of deaths. All lives matter, Black Lives Matter, not so much to me, O.J. Simpson. We have to respect women. Some of these programs, like at University of Pennsylvania, they're having a biological male competing against women in sports. This stuff causes racism, conflicts, and divides America. I don't think we should have this type of agenda where we're trying to say inclusion. You don't, like, a girl says, well, they say, well, if you're white, you have to be racism. A girl's called racist. And so is that intimidation? It's not putting out for someone else? I think we have to understand that there is dual meanings here. And this is not a way to unite us and deal adequately with racism. I'm Jewish, and I'm ashamed of some Jewish leaders who denounced Trump, who has done more for Jews than any other president. Every president promised to recognize Jerusalem. He's the only one that did it. No Democratic congressperson went to Jerusalem to recognize Jerusalem. And some Democratic congresspeople called Jews on the front line termites. I spoke to a woman, a medic person there, 20%, she's on the front lines with a terrorist thing in Israel. 20% of those people were killed, murdered. And then Jews do more, 4 times they pay the Arabs more than the other countries. No good deed gets unpunished sometimes. So I believe that this is wrong. This Marxist religion is designed to divide and conquer America. Thank you. Rethink this issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the names for the agenda. Just before we move to the consent agenda, I'm going to ask Randy Miller, who's a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force here. Bernard Griggs, who's our diversity officer, was unable to be here today. Just comment a little bit on what your committee has been doing and how this training that was asked about fits in. Please.
Hello, Commissioners. Yeah, the training is basically going to be an education. When we did our research, we're finding when an inclusion program is introduced, they generally talk about stereotypes, bias, and unconscious bias training. The County of Bucks, we've had none of that up to this point. So our committee that has met for over a year has vetted and come to the conclusion that it would be a very good idea to introduce this program at the county. It's basically going to be 200 managers will be going to a training. It will be a role play, and all employees will be able to participate in a online training class. After that online training class, there'll be a debrief with the vendor that we have selected, and that's what we'll be doing for 2022.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, this is important. This is working on training 200 people, essentially training the trainer, and then also the rest of the staff here at the county. This is something that's going to take place over many, many, many months. This is not a one-day event. But I appreciate your comments on that and all the work that your committee has put into that. So thank you. And with regards to Commissioner Warren's question about the different grants coming in, I think they're all WIOA grants.
May I say this?
Abbott, do you want to comment?
Yes, they are all federal grants. They come from the Department of Labor at the federal level to the state level to the county level, and we get them each year.
Thank you. This is something probably, Commissioner Warren, it might be new simply because we have, over a year ago, we brought the excuse me, Workforce Development Board into the county. So it was no longer a sort of standalone agency. So now that it's it's part of the county, you know, this is why you see these on our agendas, why it's becoming more part of our business, to be part of this training, trying to do what we can to help people looking for work find it, to help people who are looking for training find it and get it, and obviously help the economy, you know, in Bucks County be even better than it is. Because we always, as good as it is in some parts of the county, we always know there are areas where people are struggling. And if we can help them get training, we can provide it for them. We can work with businesses who want to actually take on people and train people in their own businesses here in Bucks. We certainly want to do that. So
it's not COVID money.
it is American Rescue Plan funding.
Not COVID money.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Before we do, we're going to move one item, 10A, which is the award for businesses, the Bucks Business Recovery Grant Program. That is, we're going to move that to the regular agenda. So just moving 10A to regular. Okay, so at this time for the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of February 16th. Are there comments or questions regarding the minutes? No? Okay, is there a motion then to approve the consent agenda items 1 through, what is that, 10G, accepting 10A?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so move to regular agenda now. We'll start with 10A, which we just moved. So the county has, during the pandemic, expended a great deal of resources, our own staff time, as well as help from our economic development partners to give grants to small businesses throughout the county to help them recover, and that is continuing. This is amending and the list of recommended awards for phases 1 and 2, the Bucks Business Recovery Grant Program, which is funded through the American Rescue Plan Act. Total amount of funding is, I'm trying to remember,
Program is about $5 million.
yeah, $5 million going out, and grants that range from $5,000 up to tens of thousands of dollars to small businesses. We did try to prioritize with this round of funding businesses who had not received money from us before, but there are businesses certainly that have received money from us before who still needed it. We've given out somewhere in excess of $30 million in small business grants to people all over. I think every municipality is represented at some level. So it's something we wanted to make sure we were spreading out as much as we could. For this agenda item, reason we moved it, there is one business which we have to sort of separate out, which was a business owned by Commissioner DiGirolamo's sister. So he wanted to obviously vote on all these, but couldn't vote on the one benefiting his sister. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the list of businesses provided accepting shear style from Feasterville. Is there a motion to approve all others except that business?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, this time, is there a motion to approve the award to shear style of Feasterville?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Could I comment? I'm going to abstain. I think it's appropriate for me to abstain on this vote, but I'd just like to publicly state it's a $2,000 grant that my sister obtained for her business shear style. I do not have any financial interest in the business. I was not part of the process or the selection of the business to receive an award, and I did not in any way help my sister fill out the application. So I'd like to abstain from this vote.
Okay, so motion made and second for the award to shear style of Feasterville. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 11 from the Law Department. Mr. Khan?
Thank you. Commissioner, I think at our most recent meeting, we talked about a major settlement in the opioid litigation that concerned the 3 largest distributors of opioids, as well as Johnson & Johnson, which had a subsidiary that sold and marketed opioids. And there was discussion about the fact that this money, which to Bucks would probably be in the neighborhood of close to $45 million, would be somewhat front-loaded, but spent over the course of 18 years and would require a lot of input from various stakeholders before any decisions were made about spending. What we have on today's agenda is not related to that litigation. That other litigation is part of a national opioid set of claims from literally, in one way or another, every municipality in the United States is involved in. Whether they brought a suit or not, there's some sort of stake that every public entity has in that national suit. I'll confess, Commissioner, I was involved in some of that litigation before I came to the county. I had never heard of Collegium Pharmaceutical before the outside firm that the county had retained at the very beginning of this reached out, and that is Scott & Scott. And that's because of all those thousands of municipalities, only 27 brought a lawsuit against Collegium Pharmaceutical. This was a company that was involved in selling opioids pretty late in the game. We sued, for example, Purdue Pharma, whose misconduct began in the mid-1990s. This company didn't get into this business until 2016, which is pretty much towards the tail end of when these claims began. And so we are now at a point where the discovery has reached a point where I think everyone has a sense of the value of continuing to litigate and where everyone stands. And so the firm that we engaged represents all 27 of these clients, these counties and municipalities, including Bucks County. They negotiated a settlement for about $2.75 million. And although we are just one of 27 plaintiffs, Bucks County would stand to receive the largest portion of that, about 1/6 of that, which would be in the neighborhood of $400 to $450 million. And unlike the $430,000 in that neighborhood. And unlike the settlement that we talked about last time, which was negotiated by Pennsylvania's Attorney General for an 18-year rollout, these funds, if approved by the board, could be expected to come into the county sometime in the next couple months. Although they would be somewhat unrestricted, the proposal on today's agenda would be to very specifically direct those funds to an ongoing and new county initiative that could be further supported moving forward, which is the county's co-responder program, which many in this room have been an integral part of, which is one of the many ways that the county in an all-hands-on-deck manner has been trying to deal with the effects of the opioid epidemic and providing relief to those who need it. So that's the reason that the resolution is written as it is, because it would authorize me to not only sign the settlement papers, but then with whatever that exact figure is coming into the county, would give specific strings to our chief financial officer to make sure that those funds are used to support that program.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Comments or questions for Mr. Khan? No? Okay. All right, so is there a motion then to approve item 11, Collegium Pharmaceutical, authorizing the county solicitor to settle and release opioid-related claims and direct the chief financial officer to direct settlement funds to support the county's co-responder program?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have budget adjustments. Mr.
Thank you,
Fuscola?
Commissioner. For your consideration today, there are 14 budget adjustments for the 2021 budget, 13 departments and 2 capital project funds. This would adjust their budget to accommodate the additional expenditures for the year 2021. There are 3 departments, Recorder of Deeds, Register of Wills, and BHTP, that are recognizing additional revenue that they received in 2021 to help offset those additional expenditures. Total impact to the general fund is $464,000. This will further the closing of the 2021 books, and the controller should be working with our auditor to release the comprehensive annual financial report by June.
Okay, thank you. Questions on the budget adjustments? Okay, is there a motion then to approve the budget adjustments numbers 39 through 52?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, personnel actions. All right. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions as presented?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, for board appointments, we have several of them. For the Agricultural Land Preservation Board, Mr. Kenneth Bupp, Mr. Wesley Schmidt, Mr. Jonathan Snipes. Those are all reappointments, all for 3 years. For Children and Youth Advisory Board, Megan Kanani, Sally Fabian Orsic, Karen Kern, David Nieves, and Lisa Welsh. Those are also appointments that are going to go for the next 3 years. For the New Americans Advisory Commission, Osama Al-Qasim, Okay, that will go finishing out a term. We had an individual who moved out of Bucks County who was on that board. And so Mr. Al-Qasim will take that seat until January 24. And for Workforce Development, Mr. Brian Shields, who is being reappointed for a term that will go 3 years. Is there a motion to approve all those appointments?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. For other civics, the county is contributing about $4,000 to a woman's place, $1,200 to Boston Legacy Foundation, $2,000 to Bucks Beautiful, $14,000 to Nova, and $2,000 to the Tile Works of Bucks County. Do you want to talk about the Boston Legacy?
Boston Legacy is somewhat new to us, although Boston Legacy is a new other civics. This is probably a one-time donation, but we've been celebrating this doctor who lived in Montgomery County and Bucks County for the past couple years. He was an African-American doctor who started a rescue squad and a hospital that exists till this day. And so they're going to Washington to be honored, and they're going to be there for EMS Day, and this is going to be a big deal.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your help on that, your leadership on that. Is there a motion to approve the other civics?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Chief Operating Officer's report, Ms. McKevitt.
If it pleases the board, I'm happy to announce that this is kind of the official start of the next phase of the weather, being spring. Our residents look forward to Household Hazardous Waste Program. I feel like a broken record, but every year we bring this to the residents, and it is wildly popular. So our first one is April 2nd in Lower Bucks County at the Community College. And what we would ask the residents to do is to visit the county's website and register for these events. There are 4 other events later in the year, May 7th, June 25th, August 13th, and October 8th. The locations for them are on the website because one location isn't finalized yet, and I don't want to announce it if it's not going to be finalized. But put it on your calendars, April 2nd at the Bucks County Community College on Swamp Road. As I said, it is very popular with our residents. We do not take, it's not open to business, industry, or institutions. But I know that there are other places in the county that do accept waste for those purposes. And then secondly, I'd like to just report that the 2023 state budget hearings took place last month, in February. We're going to review the budget and see what impacts it will have on the county in all areas of the county. And we'll work with our legislators to see if there are areas that we need to work with them on to lobby for increased funding. I know that some of them, while they say level funding means it's really a decrease in funding because it won't support our increases in expenses. And then I'm gonna waive some time to Gil Humphrey, our chief clerk and deputy chief our chief operating officer. I'm sure Dave would like that. To talk about a forum that we held last week with our legislators.
Thank you, Margie. Annually, our county commissioners hold what we call our legislative forum with our Bucks County delegation, including our state senators, our House members, and representatives from the federal level. And when we have that meeting every year, like Margie said, we talk about how the state budget impacts, specifically, more so the state budget, how it impacts the county. And I apologize, a lot of the funds that our county uses come from the state through the federal government down through the state. So we actually have a great deal of programs, a lot in Health and Human Services, for example. And at this meeting, we talked about specifically mental health care funding. The state is talking about putting a lot more money into that this year, and we're very thankful for that, and we thanked our legislators for it. But we also want to thank our legislators who attend that event every year because they all come. They are very attentive. It is a bipartisan meeting where we are Bucks Countyans as our commissioners, Bucks Countyans as our legislative officials, Bucks Countyans as the senior staff. And so we had a number of senior staff members that attended and gave great presentations. Thank you to David Kratz, he talked about corrections. And thank you to Kathy Bennett from the Area Agency on Aging. And thank you to our Chief Financial Officer, who explained a couple of pieces of legislation that when you look at it from a legislator's perspective, at first blush, may not impact a county. But when you look at it through our county lens, it actually does, and it can have long-term impacts on us. So we want to thank them very, very much for participating with us. We want to thank you, our commissioners, for helping us and attending those meetings. They're very useful, and thank you for everyone involved.
Okay, yeah, thank you, and I appreciate all the, all the work you put into it. It's a couple months trying to find a day that works for, about 14 state elected officials and a congressman and the 3 commissioners and our staff is by itself. That's a full-time job, and the Rose as well, who also participated, and because there are just for example, there are fees that are set at the state level that could impact or do impact our row officers and what they can charge and what they can collect. And if those fees haven't gone up in 20, 30 years or so, that's a problem. And they can't raise them, we can't raise them, the state has to do it. So just sharing that kind of information with them is we find very helpful. So, okay, Solicitors Report. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll begin by reporting on the executive sessions that occurred since our last public meeting. First, on February 22nd, the board met to receive information about and discuss with staff and legal counsel the potential sale of real estate. Then again on February 24th, the board met with staff and legal counsel to discuss the county's emergency preparedness for COVID-19 variants. And finally, the board had its standing executive session yesterday, which it conducted with staff and legal counsel to discuss personnel and employment matters and pending litigation matters. Finally, Commissioner, if I can build on the comments you announced this morning, the county's filing of a suit, which we had also announced yesterday at the Doylestown Training Center, Bucks County Training Center with the district attorney. And as you said, it's very appropriate that we did this leading up to Consumer Protection Week because of the county's efforts to protect consumers. And this also fits in very well with this administration's commitment to protecting the environment through legal action. As with last year's successful effort to maintain the ban on fracking in the Delaware River Basin, the county's claims were very much grounded in the Pennsylvania Constitution's Environmental Rights Amendment, which protects the rights of all Pennsylvanians to have pure water. And just like in that case where we had built a coalition with Montgomery County and Senate leadership, we had the benefit of strengthened numbers to the benefit of the county. And this case, as the Commissioner mentioned, we consolidated our efforts with our DA, whose claims were grounded in consumer protection law. And by doing that, this made this effort not only very efficient, but much more effective as a litigation strategy. The DA had mentioned that protecting our environment is not a partisan issue, and I think that Commissioner Harvey perhaps said it best when he noted that while we may belong to different political parties, we're all sharing one planet. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. All right, move on to public comment. Mr. Warren.
Two quick things that weren't even on my original mission. Congratulations for that legislative meeting. No matter how that came out, that's got to be a positive thing, and I encourage you to keep doing that. That's good for Bucks County residents. 10A, just to follow up on that, that $5 million is COVID money, right?
It's American Rescue Plan.
COVID.
If you want to connect it to that.
Yes, all right, we won't argue. And congratulations to the board again for cutting into the real world and going maskless today. That's wonderful. What I had... Now they're taking away my time here. What I wanted to speak to you about in my minute and a half was an article in Sunday's Courier about the prison or the county jail difficulty in getting staff, et cetera. And as I read this, Montgomery County is having a similar situation. Their starting salary is $42,000. Bucks County's starting salary, as I tried to figure it out with my calculators, was $46,000. And I'm asking, not telling. So if those are correct, we're going to give again $3,000 sign-on bonuses to people to come work for the county and for those already here. January 19th, we all did it for the nurses. My question now is, one, do these bonuses come out of COVID money? Two, and how long are they expected to stay in place? Is this a one-year issue, or does the 2023 salary be based on the $3,000 increase that we're given to all the employees this year? How many more do you see of this bill?
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll answer that at the end. Okay. Excuse me. Ed Mackhouse.
We are not a tag.
Okay. Ed Mackhouse from Furlong, PA. I'm a physicist, former teacher, and the war in Ukraine is unnecessary and can be readily stopped. President Trump had it right when he told President Putin that if you go into Ukraine, we'll go and bomb Moscow. And when Stalin and Hitler had the war started, World War II, Stalin had 20,000 tanks, Germany only had 5,000 tanks. Now Putin is stupid to go to war not only against Germany, but all NATO and about America. They survived World War II because of massive American help. They need to pull their troops, stop their troops right away. Ukraine is asking for a no-fly zone. We have technical superiority with planes. We can knock their planes out of the air. We can go over Moscow. We don't want to destroy Russia. Russia's never been conquered from the West. We don't want to send millions of troops in the face of Siberian winter. We just want to stop the war. Ukraine should be neutral. They gave up nuclear weapons. Putin's going to threaten nuclear weapons. France has nuclear weapons. Germany, England has nuclear weapons. They're not going to put up with bombing Paris and going through the English Channel. Putin should stop while he's ahead. The more people that die, the worse it's going to be, and the harder it is to prevent a nuclear catastrophe. As a physicist, Foxhole stopped 90% of the radiation. The winners of the nuclear war are Latin America, the countries that don't have nuclear weapons and won't have to be annihilated. So thank you, and stop the war. Everyone should do their part. Let them know that we are a nice nation. We don't want to destroy Russia, and they shouldn't want to destroy us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mara Whitson.
Mara Whitson, Chalfont. Today is day 716 of 15 days to slow the spread. I'm glad we get to celebrate today with the option of not wearing a mask at this public meeting. Doing so previously would have denied me access to offer public comment and criticism of your leadership. I'm hoping this is a sign that we're moving forward. Next, you should be removing the vaccine requirement for county employees. As we all know, the vaccine does not prevent spread of COVID. As happy as I am to see progress made here, I felt it necessary to come here and voice my concern as a resident regarding Ms. Marseglia's conduct at previous meetings. I watched the January 5th commissioners meeting as Ms. Marseglia complained about people not trusting their government. She referred to constituents as liars and seemed to liken them to January 6th rioters. This occurred as Ms. Marseglia wore an N95 over top of a surgical mask, rendering her N95 useless. So Ms. Marseglia seems to think that despite displaying a clear lack of common sense, we should trust her, and seems to be quick to anger when she's not trusted, but rather criticized. This is not a good character trait for any elected official. In fact, I find the way that she speaks about constituents that voice dissent at these meetings, both in her emails and publicly, to be morally wrong, ethically wrong, and Bucks County wrong, to use her own words. If you have questions about why your residents don't trust their government, the answer is simple. Purchase a mirror and hold it up in front of you. You are the reason, not Jamie, not Megan, not Josh, you. When you complain about the attitudes of Bucks County residents hold toward government, remember the words of Julius Campbell and remember the Titans. Attitude reflects leadership, Commissioner. Thank you.
Megan Brock?
On February 17th, Commissioner Marseglia called me and confirmed that she had blocked me from calling any Bucks County government office since 2020. Instead of apologizing for violating my constitutional rights, she blamed the situation on her assistant and slandered me in the newspaper, accusing me of, quote, extensive verbal abuse, which is a very serious accusation and an easily disprovable lie. I am holding my phone records, which show I called Diane Marseglia's public office line once on 8/12/2020 and spoke with someone for 18 minutes. The only other call I made was on 8/20. I'm sorry, the first call was 8/12. The second call was 8/20 when I left her a message advocating for kids to be in school. She used her cell phone to return my message, which is probably something you wouldn't do if thought someone was harassing you. I'm sure you guys could comment on that later. Yelled at me for 2 minutes, told me I needed to take a social studies class, and hung up the phone. After this phone call, she blocked me from contacting the entire Bucks government for 18 months, which included the sheriff, the DA, and any emergency services operated by Bucks. This occurred 6 months before I ever submitted a right-to-know request and a year before I ever attended a commissioner's meeting. I have never been cited for harassment. There was no extensive verbal abuse. That is a lie you made up. And I'm not the only person you blocked. Here's a list of 30 numbers blocked by Bucks County government. Nobody should be blocked at the whim of a commissioner. It's unethical and un-American. You place myself and my family at risk and harm. Solicitor Khan, you must investigate Marseglia's miscomment and review internal policies to ensure this never happens again. Her attack on my civil liberties is a threat to the liberties of all Bucks Cantonians, and you've put the county at risk for lawsuits. There are places in this world where citizens cannot disagree with their government without fear of retribution. Russia, China, North Korea, Bucks County. It's unacceptable. And anyone who believes in the principles on which this country was founded should join me in calling for Commissioner Marseglia's immediate resignation. No elected official can act like this in Bucks County or anywhere else.
Josh Hogan?
All right, thanks. Let's start giving each other credit where credit is due as much as possible. You guys made a good decision this past weekend. Friday morning, according to the CDC, like 95% of the country is in higher substantial and ought to wear a mask. By 3 p.m. that afternoon, it's less than 30%. And look, we all get to go mask-free. I don't want to hear, after I praise you here, that this is about science. Nothing with the virus, nothing on the ground changed. The politics changed. That being said, Friday, you guys put out a policy saying, hey, guess what? You can take your mask off if you're vaccinated. That soaked over the weekend. You guys made the right call to remove that and say, okay, you know what? Everybody is going to be able to go without a mask. Now we're sitting here. I don't know if people watching know this. There's like 50 people in this room. There is not a single mask in this room. I'm not 100% sure about the commissioner's thing, but there's no masks in here. So that was the right call. I thank you. I love that we can see each other's faces and we're moving forward. So that's fantastic. Now, let's go back to my theme last week, shady. First of all, I'm always wondering when you guys don't pay attention to us, when you look down and write, I'd like to know what you guys are writing. Like, do you just write lines or what is that exactly? That being said, shady from last week. The response that we got up here at this podium when the chair spoke back was, look, when people submit right to knows and they get the information, they don't necessarily like what they see, so they make things up. How can you say that when you are actively subverting the right to know process by deploying every ultra creative mechanism possible to stop us from seeing the emails that are obviously subject to right to know law? Everything. You're going to take people to court to try to hide those emails. It makes no sense. What we fundamentally want here is just to have a conversation about what happened in August. You also said, oh, the hospitals got involved and we just had to do it. Nobody cares about the hospitals. Hospitals had no effect then. They had no effect when they tried to reinsert themselves months later. They're out of the game. They don't affect public policy, thankfully. We want to know what happened with the state. Why did Secretary Beam resign? Did Bucks County have anything to do with that? Very easy, just answer that from the dais.
Jamie Walker.
Hi. I've been trying to figure out who wrote the August 23rd guidance for 80,000 children for 6 months. This was the guidance that kept healthy children out of school. It traumatized them. It hurt their families. Now, we already know that Mrs. McKevitt sent the guidance to Mark Hoffman to give to the superintendents. What I am trying to figure out, which you guys have been avoiding, is who put the words on the paper. Someone wrote them. So I was thinking about the last meeting when the NAACP lady spoke, and I listened to what she said. And this is what she said. She wanted to build trust between the police and the community. So what she did, instead of putting in right to know requests, she asked questions. She went to 39 police officers, state police stations, and asked a question. I am going to do what she did right now. The people on the email on August 23rd, when Mrs. McKevitt sent the guidance, are Commissioner Marseglia, Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner DiGirolamo, Eric Nagy, I don't know what anybody really looks like, James O'Malley, and Gail Humphrey. Who put the words on the paper on August 23rd? See, it doesn't work for me. So that's why we have to put in right to know requests. Someone decided that they were going to put down medical guidance that kept children home from school. You contributed to hurting them. You might not even realize what you did, but someone did it. So we just want to know who did it. I know Dr. Damsker was on that email too, but anything that he said came from him. It didn't come from him. Who wrote the guidance? You got to answer it.
Pete Phillips.
Is the mic? All right. I wasn't planning on speaking today, but I actually happen to have these in my car. So I'm very glad to have these. I'd like everyone to see, my son has been masked and required to sit inside of a blue box at lunch. He's 5 years old. He's in kindergarten at New Hope Soulbury for the past 7 months. I also would like to know who made this possible? Who wrote it? We've all seen the emails with you all colluding against Damsker. Who did it? Why did you do it? And why do I now see pictures of you, Robert, at an event in Soulbury, indoors, while my son was sitting at a desk for 7 months? And how is it possible for you to sit up there with a smug look on your face, thinking what you did is okay? I want an apology. The whole community deserves an apology. It's disgusting what you did, and we're not gonna put up with it ever again. Who wrote it, and why? Thank you.
Patricia Dobler.
That's a hard act to follow. Tricia Dobler, Chalfont. I'm glad the feckless mask mandate has been lifted at these meetings because, as you can see, many more of us will now be showing up to have our voices heard. I've had so many friends that wanted to come to these meetings but refused to comply with these illegal mandates. But it leads me to once again reiterate another way to make sure all county members get their voices heard. These meeting times are not accessible for working families who have chosen to raise their families here and deserve to have their voice heard. Please consider having one evening meeting a month, a quarter, something to show an effort of good faith for these families. Also, I'm not sure if you've heard the amazing new county podcast from Reopen Bucks, but the first episode was amazing and very eye-opening. Once again, we heard how the county commissioners tried to use the judges to coerce the sheriff at the time into firing deputies because of their vaccination status. Thankfully, our sheriff at that time was a strong leader who knew that he was there to serve the people and not a monarchy.
Thank you. Address some of the questions here. Actually, we'll just start with the page I'm on. What am I writing when people come up and ask? Mr. Hogan wanted to know. I write down what people are bringing up. So for you, I wrote, what are we writing? And I also wrote that you said we made a good decision this past weekend. Well, actually, we made the decision 2 weeks ago to go maskless in this building, mask optional, on the 28th of February. The CDC caught up to us. We didn't wait for them. So I'm assuming in 2 weeks you'll commend us for doing that. In terms of questions about mask guidance, who wrote the mask guidance? We've answered this question multiple times. If people don't like the answer, it doesn't mean the answer is going to change. As much as we'd like to say that hospitals don't matter, when our hospitals raise questions about their ability to take care of kids who are sick, and that they're concerned about it, which is what they did in August, then we have to take a look at the mask guidance that we provided. And it was, as I said, Dr. Damsker who actually was given that information by the hospitals themselves. And it was him who raised the question about, maybe we do need to do this, because if they're worried about their ability to take care of kids, then we need to do everything we can to protect the kids. Question about wearing masks at events. I know that's a popular little topic. If you're at an event where people are vaccinated and you have to be vaccinated to get in, then that's a different way of looking at different events that you go to. Mr. Regula, there he is. Would you comment, please, on the issue of phone numbers being blocked and how that happens? And we can't comment necessarily on all the ones that are blocked, but the reasoning why there would be blocked phone numbers.
Sure, thank you. Based on public comment at last commissioners meeting, leadership immediately after that meeting asked me to investigate our block number policy, how numbers are blocked, and to further provide a report to leadership on that. So we have gone through our entire system and we have found, as previously reported at this meeting, there are about 60 numbers that are within our system that have been blocked. They can come to us being blocked through various mechanisms, some of those through the courts, some of those through the DA's office. We did find on October 20th, a specific number was requested to be blocked by county leadership. The number requested was to be blocked to a specific county extension. IT programmed that into the system. Unfortunately, technically in our system, that blocked county-wide. That was not previously known to IT nor to county leadership or the commissioners that would be the case. The specific request was to block one private number from going to one single county extension. IT communicated to commissioner that that's what we did. That's not what happened. Technically, what happened was that number was blocked county-wide. That has since been rectified through our investigation. We are currently going through all block numbers since 95% of them are older than 3 years beyond the records that we keep in our service ticketing system to determine why. We have since asked the DA to evaluate those numbers and report back which ones they definitely need to hold and which ones we can release from the block status. We are investigating new technology to ensure that if a block number is requested, we can do it on a single extension basis. We hope to have that installed by June.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. There was, it's a question about incentives with regard to the prison. I think Mr. Kratz will back me up when he says that, every prison is having difficulty staffing up. And certainly, we are trying to figure out ways to, to bring people, to attract people to that job. It is a tight labor market. For a very, very long time, the economy, I think, was skewed against workers, and it's been skewing more towards them. Wages are going up. They can be more choosy. The number of retirements that we're seeing throughout the country, is opening up a lot of job opportunities. And quite frankly, prison work, much like working in a nursing home or in hospitals in many cases, is very difficult, time-consuming, grinding work, weekend hours, evening hours, 16-hour shifts that, difficult to get people to do that job. So with regard to incentives and how long they last, hold on. With regard to incentives and how long they're going to last, Mr. McKevitt, talk about that.
It's a 3-year program, and it is funded by American Rescue Act funds.
But we're, the prison, 3 years, yes, sir. So, okay, so I think that's all addressed, all the ones. In terms of accessibility, the meetings, since this board took over, the meetings have been broadcast on Facebook, and you now have a completely new way of seeing these meetings. You literally couldn't see them before, despite the fact that most communities in this county had municipal meetings that were broadcast. This county kind of refused to do so for a very, very long time. And so seeing these meetings has never been easier, quite frankly, than it is now. It has been for the past couple of years. All right, for commissioner comments. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And on Andy's questions about the correction, I've said this from my observation of my 2 years plus here in the county. Our Department of Corrections, the corrections office and officers and everybody there in the prisons have the toughest job in county government. We're on the prison board, and we get a report from Dave every month. And the people that enter our correctional facility, every month, anywhere from 7 to 10 people a day who are entering our correctional facilities need to be detoxed from drugs. So imagine that, 7 to 10 people a day who are entering have to be detoxed from drugs. So these people are at one of the lowest points in their life. And that's not to say anything about the issues that prisoners that are dealing with mental health issues as well. I give all the credit in the world to our correctional people. I mean, they just do such an amazing job. And, mostly about them, I know we had the dog in here and, this morning and, looking to cut back or try to eliminate, the drugs that might be coming in to the prison. And they just do such a terrific, amazing job. And it's on behalf of all the residents of Bucks County. I mean, that's who they're working for. And, as far as the salary being a little bit more than Montgomery County, I mean, we're having trouble right now attracting people that want to work at the prison. I mean, I think COVID is part of the problem. The hours that they work are also, I think, part of the problem. The overtime that they're being asked to put in, not only to protect the other prisoners, but to protect the public. It's just amazing what they do at that prison. It really is the toughest job in the county. It really is as part of county government. And I just want to commend each and every one of them that work at our prison. Thank you for the work that you do. We really appreciate it, Dave, and please pass that along. Thank you.
Up to your commissioner comment if you want to continue. Yeah.
We'll make that part of my comments. Just a couple just a couple quick points, and I want to just build a little bit on what Gail talked about, our legislative forum, which we do every year with the commissioners and the county government. I mean, it was really pretty amazing. I mean, we brought up a lot of points that are important to the county government, and we had either present or on Zoom, I think there's 10 state representatives, 4 state senators that are part of Bucks County, and also someone from the congressman's office. And, you know, it was a bipartisan group. And I think the thing that made the biggest impression on me is how well everybody got along. Bringing up the issues, both the Democrats and the Republican elected officials who were on the call were very willing to jump in and try to help both sides of the aisle. So that's the one thing that stood out to me. It was very, very impressive to see government actually working. Democrats and Republicans actually there in the room and on Zoom and working together to try to get things done. And I mean, that brought a smile to my face because I think that's the way it's supposed to be. We don't have to agree on everything. And sometimes we really don't. But, you know, when there's problems out there and there's situations where you can improve the life of the people that you represent and you're able to reach across the aisle, as we always used to say up in Harrisburg, and try to find compromise and solutions to problems, I mean, I think that's what people expect when they go to the polls and vote and elect their officials. That after the election and after all that campaigning and the rhetoric and the mailers and the TV commercials, and after that's all done and you're elected, it's time to work together to improve the life of the residents that you represent. And just finally, I'm wearing a yellow or gold tie, and many of us have blue on, just to, I think, kind of like support the people of the Ukraine. And as I've watched, as I'm sure all of you have watched over the past month or two, I mean, it's just shaken everybody's confidence. No need for Russia to invade that country. They were no threat to them at all. And as I look, the President Zelensky, I mean, he has just become a hero, not only in his own country, but I think around the world. And the heroism and the character of the Ukrainian people. And I mean, we have you know, a nice population of Ukrainians that are here in Bucks County. We have a number of Ukrainian church. And, you know, I think we all should get behind them in any way we could, whether it's donate, keep them in our prayers. But boy, when they invaded, that day they invaded, I mean, I could not think about and go back in the history lessons. And September 1st, 1939, when Germany, again for no reason, invaded Poland. And that was the start of World War II. And that's something that we do not want to have happen again. We don't need World War III. So I'm just keeping in my prayers the opportunity to have a ceasefire and peace. I think that's what we need. We need the Russian troops to withdraw. So that's what I'm praying for right now. But again, the heroism of the Ukrainian people under all this might of the Russian army, I mean, they should really be commended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Commissioner Marseglia.
Just a few things. The first thing I just wanted to address is that the issue that came up about the phones being blocked, I just want to say I will not say that person's name, just as the newspaper never said that person's name. But I do want to say that before this meeting was over last time, my assistant was the one who called and remembered that that number had been blocked, but thought, as we were told, that it was just one number. And I called that person, and I apologized that this happened. I explained what happened, and I thanked them for pointing out something that we didn't even know until that very day. So I just need that to be out there. I also have to say that I'm sure, like most people in this room, my mind has not been off Ukraine. I'm surprised that we can talk about anything but Ukraine. And I sit here and I look and I see how those people are so unified, and I see that NATO has unified, And I look around and I think we can do that here in Bucks County too. There are families, thousands of families dying 4,000 miles away from here, and they need our positive prayers and our positive energy. I want to add that if there are people, and I've heard from some who are struggling, whether you have relatives and friends in Ukraine or just the whole situation is upsetting, there are 2 numbers you can call. The first is the National Alliance for Mental Illness, our local chapter of NAMI. I'll say the number. It's 215-343-3055. You can also call the hub here at Bucks County and get a referral if you would like to do that, and that number is 215-348-6201. And the last thing that I want to say is I wanted to wish my assistant, Anna Payne, a very happy 35th birthday. And I am saying that because she was born with cystic fibrosis and was not expected to live beyond the age of 14, so 35 is pretty amazing. But even more important, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in multiple organs many months ago, and she is courageously and strongly fighting on, and so I want to wish her a very special happy 35th birthday.
Thank you. So we have, usually it's me giving the history lesson, but Commissioner Deidre beat me to it this time. We have some information we wanted to share regarding those who are interested in helping Ukraine. So you'll see 4 different organizations, 4 websites that you can visit. I spoke a few days ago to Mr. Roman Petik, who is the chair of the Ukrainian Self-Reliance Federal Credit Union, which is located here in Bucks County. And he spoke to him about what he was hearing and ways we could help and what we could do, what information we could share to the people of Bucks County. And he was the one who shared these organizations. Grace Ukrainian Baptist Church, I'll give credit where credit is due. That was on the front page of the Intel the other day. And so I reached out to them as well. And they are taking donations as well. United Ukrainian American Relief Committee has actually been around since just after World War II. It is based in Philadelphia. And obviously the Ukrainian Catholic Archdiocese of Philadelphia. There is at least 2 Ukrainian Catholic churches here in Bucks County, one St. Anne's, which isn't far from where we are right now, and St. Mary's, which is in Bristol Township. And Ukrainian Federation of America was really started by a Ukrainian American doctor many decades ago to raise funds for and supplies and help people who were interested in advocating for better medicine in Ukraine. Certainly we, wearing the colors of the Ukrainians and having our thoughts and prayers is certainly very, very necessary, but making donations, if you're able to, consider making a donation. As with any donation, none is too small. So we appreciate any efforts that you can give them, any help you can give them. So at this time. And in terms of the numbers, Commissioner Marseglia, I think it was a great idea giving out the numbers for those people who might be struggling with what they're seeing, what they're hearing, bless you, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, whether they have family in this area in Ukraine or not. So I wonder if we can put those numbers or put something up on our website about those numbers, in addition to having this put out through social media and also on our website. I think that's something that that'll be very, very helpful. And the last part, of course, is to keep in mind the people not only of Ukraine, but there are people in Russia who are taking very, very brave steps, protesting openly in the streets. Russian media, which is being shut down by the government because some of the more liberal outlets are being not as cooperative as Vladimir Putin would like. And I think it's a good reminder because we have obviously not only a Ukrainian American population here in Bucks, but a Russian American population here in Bucks. And to not confuse the Russian people with the dictator who's controlled them for so long. I think that's something to keep in mind. And it's very easy, unfortunately, we've seen to turn emotions from positive to negative. And so let's make sure the positive emotions we have are going in the right directions. The negative one goes to those people, to Vladimir Putin himself, to the oligarchs who support him, and even to some, unfortunately, some Americans who think he's doing a good job. With that, I will thank everybody for their work on this meeting and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.